How are you today? Or this afternoon. I was about to say good morning. Anyways, how are you guys doing today? Welcome back to just another Freckled Face YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow along. I can't force you, but it'd be nice. Anyways, I come on here today to talk about something that I recently saw on social media. And I also want to show you, I guess, the relevance of what I was talking about in a speech class recently, my informative speech, which was weeks ago, and how it pertains to this. So first, I'm going to talk about what I did for my informative speech. I can't really give a whole word for word what I said, but I have a PowerPoint I can show you, and I'm going to talk about the video and how it kind of correlates with what I was talking about weeks ago. So forgive me if the camera is like facing like this. It's because my my stand broke, and I don't know how else I don't know if I'm gonna get a new one or try and fix this. Either way, my stand broke, so I can't turn it sideways. Or actually, let me try first, and then I'll see. Okay, so I was able to do it. Kinda. So there we go. All right, and there it is. Okay, so my presentation basically was, information on the medical mistrust of, for the Black community, things of that nature. I started off with saying, have you ever heard the saying, trust the doctors? And I said, that is easier said than done for some people instead of most, meaning, it's easier maybe for a whiter demographic than a Black demographic because of the medical mistrust in the Black community from past traumas and experiences. So I showed a slide as well where it's talking about Dr. Marion Simmons. He was the quote-unquote godfather of gynecology. But only reason why he gained that notoriety and notability is because he tested on enslaved Black women without anesthesia. So this is one of the famous pictures that you may see circling around. This is, I mean, at least from my social media or algorithm, I see this picture a lot of times. That's Dr. Marion Sims right there. This is him examining one of the 3 enslaved Black women without anesthesia. And he had a statue dedicated to him in New York City, but it was protested to be removed in 2018. I remember seeing this picture. It took me a while to find it, but I remember seeing this in 2018 and doing my research and finding out why they wanted it removed, and that was why. So I said this is one of the reasons why it's medical mistrust, because of things like this. A doctor not doing his experiment on anyone other than Black and or enslaved women. It kind of passes down trauma in the community. So then I went on to say that a number of people in medical school, they were still somewhat taught that people who have maybe darker and or blacker skin have a higher pain tolerance than people who have lighter or whiter skin. So this is kind of a chart where it shows, high pain tolerance to none. So, this is my own personal words. Oftentimes I do see this in the hospital where, someone maybe with darker skin may be treated a different way than somebody with lighter or white skin. But it is honestly a medical myth. This is not based in facts or anything, that if you have darker skin, you have a higher pain tolerance. It's a myth. It's not true. And whoever tells you that or told you that, do not listen to them. That's not true at all. So then I go on to the Tuskegee syphilis experiments. Now, if you don't know what the Tuskegee syphilis experience is, basically, the U.S. government, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have word for word, but basically the U.S. government and the health department, I believe, were testing out to see the effects and symptoms of, syphilis and everything. So they needed people to test it on, and they went to a poor black neighborhood of Tuskegee, Alabama, and tested on black male residents. And they lied to them and said, this is a treatment for syphilis. Instead, they were giving them this injection of syphilis and examining the symptoms, everything in between. And nobody knew about this until someone had a whistleblower give it to the Associated Press article, and it was exposed 40 years after the fact, and it was shut down. So, all that to say, it's just history, years and years of history of medical mistrust in the community, where we're being experimented on, tested on, things of that nature. Almost like, we're basically second-class citizens. Like, we're being tested on like we're animals or something, And it wasn't right. It wasn't right at all. And, of course, they said Bill Clinton giving the formal apology and experience in 1997. But, even with a formal apology, it's like the damage is already done mentally and physically, emotionally, psychologically, everything between. So I kind of went on from there, in some conversations in recent years, COVID-19, people, and I remember this, people often compare the Tuskegee experiments to getting a COVID-19 vaccination shot. And me personally being a medical person, I'm like, okay, on the medical side, I'm like, I don't think that's true. However, you're basically telling people to get a shot. And this is kind of what they told them back then. Get the shot for X, Y, and Z. So this is what I'm saying. These things correlate because somebody's grandparent went through this. Somebody's great-grandparent, somebody's aunt, uncle, mother, father. Somebody went through this. And they passed on that story down the line. And we get to 2021. And now you're like, oh, dang. This seems like the same thing. I really shouldn't get this shot. I really shouldn't do this. And this is just a timeline of the medical mistrust. Like I said, the Marion Sims all the way up to, the COVID-19, etc. It's just a long list of mistrust. And I left with a quote saying, healing is possible when empathy becomes a core principle of care and not just a soft skill. Basically saying when you put yourself, I see it as when you put yourself in somebody's shoes and kind of understand where they're coming from, especially in the medical field, it's really not easy being sick. And it sucks when you're sick and then you don't feel like you have support from maybe your family or friends or medical staff. But showing empathy and having some type of understanding where this person may be coming from when it comes to how they are, how they feel, it helps out a lot. And it kind of correlates to my recent speech as well, where I persuade people to volunteer in the hospital. But with that being said, that was my speech. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna leave it like this for now because I don't like moving it. But so now this kind of correlates to what I saw on social media. So I saw online bits and pieces of video of a pregnant black woman was going through extreme labor pains. And I guess from that point of view, the nurse was not showing empathy, sympathy, caring. I think in one point in the video it said, okay, you gotta calm down. And this lady's like jumping up in pain, like not jumping in pain, but she's literally, it's a lot. It's intense. I've never been pregnant, but I can only imagine how painful that is. And I did not watch the whole video, but me being a medical person and doing research such as this, I know firsthand how that is. I know firsthand how it is. Now, I've never worked personally with a mom or baby for years or anything of that nature, but I know how it is when, well, you see it right there. We're told that we have tougher skin. We can tolerate pain. Oh, it's things like, oh, it doesn't hurt that bad, you'll be okay, whatever the case may be when it comes to us. And these are things that I've heard people say to maybe somebody with darker skin. And then when you get somebody with lighter skin, it's, oh, honey, oh, it's okay. What you need? Let me get you some. See how the tones change? They change drastically. And I'm not saying that all nurses are like this, not at all, no. But I feel like when stuff like this comes up, it gives, now first and foremost, it shows you, it brings on more mistrust with the Black community and hospital nursing staff. It brings on more mistrust and brings on a wider divide, because you see something like this. You see a pregnant woman. First and foremost, how dare you see a pregnant woman and not even give her comfort? This woman is screaming in pain. You got her sitting in the at one point said she was sitting in the ER, and I'm like, no. If somebody is pregnant, active labor, don't. And I'm not. Correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't you supposed to take them to labor and delivery like ASAP? They're not supposed to wait there, because that right there is a life or death situation for the mom and the baby. So it's like, why would you not sit here and do that? Like, I get it, you gotta get the paperwork and stuff done, but I'm like, okay. From what I've seen, if it's like a huge emergency, the people come, the triage comes after the fact and gets all the information. But as medical staff, if something's going on, we gotta get to it right now. Me personally, if I was there in triage and I saw that woman like that, I'm like, okay, I need help. Where do I take her? We got to get her somewhere. We got to get her comfortable. We got to get her maybe to labor and delivery. We got to get her here, there, wherever. Let's get her on the stretcher. Let's get her on bed. Something. She's in active labor. She's in pain. And personally, I'm like, I can't watch that whole video because it gets me mad. It gets me upset. It gets me upset because it's like, how can you sit here and watch it? How can you sit here and look at that and just be casual? I can't do it. And it's upsetting because it's like I said again, we see this, I see this. I've seen this before. It's plenty of times I went to work, and this is just an example. I went to work. You had two types of people. You had a white patient and a black patient, or a black or brown patient. Each one causing trouble, each one causing mischief, each one causing a problem, whether it be a man or woman issue. The black patient gets in restraints first. They get maybe 1 or 2 strikes and they're in restraints. They don't get no talk down. They don't get no convincing. They don't get no redirection. None of that stuff. None of it. But you got a white patient over here. They're giving 5, 6, 7 chances to do the right thing. They're giving everything that they want. Jello, ginger ale, pudding cup, video game, phone call, TV, everything. They get all the privileges and they still act an ass. And then finally, after the 10th chance, oh, let's put them in restraints. So you're telling me after they did all this stuff, beat on the staff, yell at them, cuss at them, ran twice, now we got to put them in restraints. But the black or brown person, they may have said something mean or nasty. They may have, and I'm not condoning violence any way, shape, or form towards patients and staff members, because that is not okay. That's a whole nother video to discuss too, but I digress. They don't even get the opportunity, and they're already in restraints. And I've seen that before. I've seen instances where black or brown patients don't get much care. Nurses in and out, techs in and out. Whereas us, it's like over here, they have all types of conversations. They have all types of kiki sessions and having a good time, this, that, and the third. It's like, it's so different. And this is why I say it's a divide, because people know energy. And me personally, like I said, don't get me wrong. When I go to work, I may not be in the mood to be at work, but I try to be nice to everybody, especially my black and brown sisters, because I know they're not going to get it elsewhere. I try to do it. It's not hard. And don't get me wrong, there are difficult patients, whether it be black, white, brown, whatever. And it's like, okay, if you don't find that person appropriate to work with, you can switch patients. Or better yet, you go in there, do what you need to do what they need, give them what they need, and let it be that, and check on them periodically and call it a day. But after watching that video, I was like, bro. And mind you, I didn't watch the whole video. I watched clips here and there. And I'm like, I get it, the controversy with clips and everything. But I'm like, you don't, especially as a medical person, you don't need to see the whole video just to know what's going on. And I know it's not okay. And now this video is going to circulate all over social media. And if it already hasn't, it's going to circulate all over social media. The nurse is going to be ridiculed, of course, as she should. This lady's going to talk about her experience. She may even sue. And the medical mission and the relationship just keeps going further and further out. And then we're going to get back to a point where black and brown folks don't want to go to the hospital. They don't want to go to the doctor's office. They don't want to sit here and get checked up. They don't want to get vaccinations. They don't want to do anything in between of getting their health together, because they don't trust us. They don't trust us. They don't trust us. It's point blank period. They don't trust us. And we sit here and we blame everything else as to why they don't trust us. And trust me and believe me, working in a hospital and a healthcare professional is not easy. Imagine having to sit here and take care of 10 to 12 people, 13 even, that need to be fed, changed, twice if good day. They need to be taken to the bathroom. They need to be dressed. Medication, treatments, wounds, Q2 turns, sugars, all that. It's just a stressful job. And when I see stuff like this online, it upsets me, because it's like, bro, that's common sense. If I go in a patient room and they're actively hooting and hollering in pain, I'm like, okay, let me stop doing these vitals. Let me not do these vitals right now. Let me not do this blood sugar. Let me not do this eating right now. Are you okay? What is going on? If they can't talk or speak for themselves, I start checking. What's going on? Okay. They may have an accident. Let's get you cleaned up. They may have a pain. They may have a scratch, a bruise. They may be uncomfortable. Let's get you comfortable so you can focus on eating or getting the sugar, getting the vitals, whatever the case may be. And it's like, I do this, and I see a lot of people do it now, but it's like, it's other people out here that's like, what have you been taught? And I'm not even trying to be petty, but it be these nurses that say, I've been doing this 50, 60 years, and da-da-da. So basically what you're saying is you've been a nurse since they've been doing lobotomies in people's heads. You've been a nurse since they didn't use anesthesia to cut off limbs. You've been a nurse since the damn Civil War. Excuse my language. You've been a nurse since the Civil War. Medicine has changed since then. All this stuff has changed since those times. You've been a nurse for all these years, and yet you still think about being a nurse from years ago. Freaking years ago. Where they were still doing lobotomies. Where you could still sit here and say the word retarded. That was a medical term. You could say that. Where they sat here and put people who are not sane in all these insane asylums, and it was a mess. That's when you were a nurse. That's when you started nursing. You think those same practices are going to be here taught now? No. You were probably a nurse when segregation was going on. You still think that's okay. And people are going to see this video again. They see this video and they're going to instantly think, oh my God, this lady's a racist. And she may not even be a racist. But this is what we're perceiving it as. Because of the history. We were mistreated. We were treated dirty. We were treated dirty with any and everything. When it came to housing. When it came to voting. When it came to rights, civil rights. When it came to getting a job. We were treated unfairly, but the most unfairly mistreatment is in the hospital, is in the medical profession. You can't sit here and say that you've never, especially somebody, if you work in the healthcare field right now, you cannot sit here and tell me as a black or brown person, you have not seen that mistreatment. You can't say that. You cannot say you have not seen that mistreatment. And sure, we could go off and say, okay, maybe she was overreacting. Maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. Either way, you still have a job to do. You have to take care of these people. We have to take care of people like that. And again, this is childbirth. I've never given birth to a child. The farthest pain I feel is like a period cramp, and that's crazy. And that's probably 10 times worse when you're pregnant and giving birth. You're pushing a fat head out your twat. Your twat is here, and the baby is this. Imagine pushing that. Does that feel, do you think that's going to feel comfortable? No. Some people say it felt like a big poop. Imagine being constipated and trying to push out a big poop. That's probably what it feels like. Pain. So it just blew my mind how those things correlated, because I watched all that the other day, and I was like, that's crazy, because I just talked about this. I just talked about this in class, and I didn't do good because, you know, reasons, but all this to say, it's still going on. My informative speech was basically to say that this is still going on. We're still not being treated fairly. Because had this been someone white, it would be a different story. And I'm not saying this for all nurses, because not all nurses act like this. Not all techs, not all staff, medical staff acts like this. It gives us a bad stigma. It does. Because now this black woman is going to, I think she gave birth. She's going to do what she got to do, have her baby, go about her day. And let's say she has another baby. Let's say she gets pregnant again. She may be thinking about, I'm happy, congratulations, but then she's going to think about, oh my God, where am I going to get my baby delivered? Now she has to think about, and there's nothing wrong with doulas. My friend's a doula. She's going to have to think about getting a doula. And I don't blame her, because maybe you should, because she probably would have more support from the doula than from what the nurse was showing. But that costs money. But honestly, I think at that point, it'd probably be worth every penny to have support like that in the room. For the simple fact that this is what we see. But now she's going to have a doula. She's going to think, do I give a home birth? Do I go to a birthing center? And of course, some people say they don't trust that stuff. I don't have enough research to know about it. From what I've seen personally, it's been good for mothers and babies. I can't sit here and say that it hasn't, because I haven't been pregnant. I never did that, and I don't know my research, so I can't say or speak on that. But like I said, I've seen the results just from social media. Now, I could probably do better research and look it up, but from what I've seen, it's been good. But I feel like, again, that's still a medical type of thing, and I feel like these two things should be together, not in a bad way, but in a good way. Like, let's say something happens over here. Can we, as the doula staff, the home birth staff, trust the hospital staff to take care of this mom and this baby properly and give them the support and love that they need, to hear them out, to listen to everything that they're saying, and not just see them as another number, another statistic, another patient? And we should work together. We should. But I feel like, I know it's a divide. I do, because I've heard stories about it being a divide also. But it shouldn't be a divide, because at the end of the day, we're here for the patients. We're here for the patients. We're here to take care of these people, no matter what. That's the quote unquote oath that we took. Do no harm and take care of people. I mean, it ain't the oath, but basically that's what it is. We gotta take care of these folks. And from what I've seen, it's like, y'all not doing it. A lot of y'all become nurses just for money. You don't know lick of GNA work. You don't know how to change nobody. You don't know how to feed nobody. You just there to make money. And it's good money. But it's one of those things where one day you're going to have to do this stuff. You're going to have to know these skills. Money should motivate you, yes, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to know these skills. You got hired for a reason. There's a lot of nurses now that have to do CNA work because they realize GNAs can't do it. GNAs, patient care techs, can't do it alone. You're going to have to do it. And like I said, if that was me in triage and I saw somebody in a panic, me personally, I would be panicking with them. I'm like, oh my God, what do we do? But I'm like, no, calm down. We got to get you. What do we do? What's the protocol? Because this person is in agonizing pain. Like, I've seen people come in the ER and I think like a bone was broken and they instantly rolled them to the back. They rolled them right to the back. No questions asked. Give them a bed. It's an emergency. And that right there was an emergency. And the lady didn't move with urgency. Wow, that rhymed. Emergency, urgency. There you go. If it's emergency, move with urgency. So, I just thought, I just like, that's crazy how the correlations just came about with that. But, yeah, I wish it was better for us, and I wish that this stuff still wasn't going on in 2025. Mind you, Marion Sims, this was like in the let me look it up, hold on, like mid 1800s, like Marion Sims. This man was alive from 1813 to 1883. So between that time, 1800s. And so from the 1800s, and probably even further back, so from years, hundreds of years of mistrust, and we're still here. And these stories are still being told. You're still seeing stories about this. You're still hearing about nurses that don't care and don't give a daggone about patients. And the patient has happened to be black or brown. And then Now we gotta see, us as medical staff gotta see this video circulate all online, and it's gonna be some knucklehead that's gonna be like, so, it's not like that. Not all nurses are like that. Yes, not all nurses are like that. We can acknowledge that not all of us are like this. I'm definitely not like that, because I would have been like, I would be like, okay, what do you need me to do? Like, let's get you a chair or something. Shit. Up to labor and delivery. Let's get you in the back. Let's something. But no, not all nurses are like that. But we need to acknowledge that some of them are. And we need to call them out on that. We need to say, you need to do better. Or we need to give examples of doing better. One of my coworkers for many years, she always told me to do better when it comes to certain things and certain people and certain situations. And I always told her, hey, you getting on my nerves. But it was needed. Because going that extra mile for somebody is needed, especially in this healthcare profession. And when you go that, and like I said, it could be a whole nother video about us doing a lot as healthcare professionals and going the extra mile, especially with no staff. It's tough. That could be a whole video in itself. But when you go the extra mile, I feel like when you go the extra mile and you show people kindness and compassion, consideration, all that stuff. And like I said, it does play into a role of having staff, because I'm pretty sure when you have enough staff, you can take care of people in a timely manner. But when you do that, you show people compassion and kindness, empathy, they're going to leave feeling good. And then they may have to come back. And they won't have to have 20 million things in their mind about, are they going to treat me right? Am I going to die? Is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? Can I trust this person? Can I trust that person? These are not the things we want somebody to sit here and think about while they're in the hospital. We want you to think about just getting better. And like I said, that lady knows better. You know better, ma'am. You know better, you need to do better. And let this be an example to any of these nurses or techs or any hospital staff that don't sit here and do the right freaking thing. Do better. Be a better example than this. Be a better example of any of this bad behavior. Don't defend it either. And if it's an issue with staffing and anything that, talk to your higher ups. Talk to them higher ups. Talk to the HR. And I know HR don't freaking listen worth a darn sometimes, but that's who needs to be talked to. They do the hiring and firing. But do better. We can all do better. And me personally, I'm sorry that she went through that. We're doing healthcare for so long. I'm like, bro, that's not okay. So just do better. All right, well, that being said, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Let this be not like a rant or anything, but let this just be an understanding that we are all human. We all need to show empathy towards people in certain situations, especially in the medical field, especially to Black and brown individuals. Know your history, know your patients, do the right thing. You have a good day. Be safe. Remember, I'm nobody special. I'm just another freckle face. Peace.